So, this is chapter 1, because I'm not giving away anything else. This is the room. Aaron knows it instinctively. This motel bed is the one that held Seth the night before. It is our 4th night, and we are now 1 day behind. Aaron prepares the bed and undresses with practiced precision. He peels back the corner of the sheets at a careful angle, even though they wrinkle and shift with every move. The motel sheets and rough wool blanket fold off the corner to a crisp triangle. His slender frame is only bare a moment. As he surrounds the pillow with both hands and collapses immediately into sleep, I wonder what it must feel like to come to your lover's bed a day too late. As Aaron sleeps, I begin to organize my notes from the car ride today. It is less work than the day before. After Christmas of last year, Aaron Gallagher and Seth McCann went to Ireland by themselves. Gallagher characterizes the trip as a terrible mistake, a series of terrible mistakes. Gallagher had been 4 times with his family. McCann had never left the continental U.S. For one thing, Gallagher said, December is not the best time to travel to Ireland. It's not as cold as you think that far north, but it is dark most of the time. Dark? In summer, the sun can set as late as 10 at night, but we pay for it in the winter. Nights are not especially cold compared to America, but they are very long, so Seth and I didn't get in much sightseeing. Gallagher has no brogue or red hair, but his kinship to the Isle is clear, even before knowing his surname. How long did you stay? A week. We came back to classes 3 days late just to get back. What did you do? I visited my family. Seth slept a lot. His headaches were bad that first weekend. He had to go to the hospital one night. He went to the hospital for headaches? Actually, he blacked out for a moment. He tried to cover up, say that he was feeling better one night, and, well, it got the better of him, and he blacked out on me. I panicked and took him to the hospital. They didn't do too many tests. I'm not sure they believed me that it wasn't the alcohol. You have been drinking. Yeah, but only a little. We hadn't had that much. Couldn't Seth have had some you weren't aware of? I was boring. I can't extrapolate or imagine Aaron's reaction in the moment of these events. In the car, with me, Aaron was giving an indifferent confession. Whatever catharsis that came with this thing had already happened or had yet to. I never imagined big stories happened like this. It was always my understanding that even contrived stories were wrapped with emotion, that sensational headlines were born that way. But this was not calculated. His narrative was a summation of the events point by point. He had been with Seth, now he was driving halfway across the country to find Seth again, and telling me the story of the in-between. I stop the tape and pull off my headphones. My hand is cramping. Nearly everything around us is stained brown, and feels as though it was made before 1975. The floor-to-ceiling wood paneling clinches the motif. It is unlikely, even when the wainscoting was first installed, that it concealed the imperfections in the wall. Now, the warped lines in the plywood are a contour map to every water-stained bulge in the room's thin walls. The dresser is worn and battered in one corner. It looks as though someone paid lip service to refinishing it several years ago. There are layers of carvings in it, initials, names, and random scratch marks laid in over time, and so it is hard to pick out the fresh pentagram, except that there is still sawdust in the engraving. The loud heating unit beneath the window of the room grumbles to life. The machine's waking noise is full of clicks it shouldn't have, but hot air emerges nonetheless. A sliver of the darkness outside appears every minute or so. The rigid polyester curtains wave in and out as one unit, having been starched into oblivion. I open them. Outside the glass is a boy our age walking by with an ice bucket. It is startling to both of us, and I freeze while my heart pumps heavily. Though I did not see him approach, I imagine he continues quicker than he came until he reaches his room. I close the curtains again. It's the adrenaline that reminds me how tired I am. My mind is fogged from lack of sleep, and no amount of caffeine will clear it. I cannot sleep, however. I start the tape and put my headphones back on. So the hospital thought he had passed out from drinking? Seth wasn't helping my argument. He was coming back from the second vision. The what? In my bag on the back seat, pull out the black and white composition book. Seth McCann kept 3 journals. Each book was an unwitting gift from the parents in his life. 12-year-old McCann dropped a composition book in the cart while shopping with his mother. and so purchased himself a book to record his dreams. At 16, seeing a gift from Dylan Gallagher unused on Aaron's shelf, he had taken a hardcover blank book to record his daily activities. And finally, or firstly, as the date is unknown, he took an old, worn, and leather-bound volume from his father and began to write in it as well. The log of McCann's life is ordinary, regular entries and consistent handwriting, all in the same pen kept clipped to the book. Entries are dated about 3 to a week. There is no mechanical regularity to their spacing. The last entry is mid-August before he entered college, but there's no indication that it was intended as a final entry. The book of his dreams doesn't begin as unusual either. It is full of the anxieties and anxious fantasies one would expect the 12 to 18-year-old to have. Having sex, losing his mother, being teased at school, etc. In the journal, Seth's ability to describe the dreams quickly grows in memory, vocabulary, and style, while his handwriting does not. It is inconsistent, scratched down in a bleary rush with whatever was handy. The final 2 entries in Seth's dream are called visions. The final entry, second vision, is as follows. I am being buried alive. I am lying naked in the ground. The hole is shallow and being filled in with white snow and earth. The figure with the shovel is obscured, and I see wings on his back and a key at his belt. I cannot speak or scream. The figure continues to shovel. The key is bronze. It is oxidized and warped. Spots are blackened and others covered in a fine white ash. The key is one of 3. The shovel is old, blade rusted by soil and chipped by stone, smooth where hands have held it before, rough and dirt covered everywhere else. But the figure's hands do not match. They are wrinkled, but not calloused or hardened. They are my father's hands. Now I see his face clearly. It is dead. His eyes are sunken and purple, and his face is smeared with dirt. Snow and earth falls on my face again and again until the world turns dark. He was yelling about it when we brought him into the hospital. It didn't help my case much. I can imagine. For the first time, Aaron's face was stern. He did not look from the road, but written in profile was the weight of what had happened to him and the fear playing underneath. He continued to drive. You should read more of the journals. June 6, 1996. I remembered the time she took me out of school in 3rd grade. It wasn't a whole memory, I don't think. Lots of the day I don't remember. But I remembered she showed up early in the morning in the classroom, called to me and came, and the teacher asked what was going on, and she said I wasn't feeling well. The teacher tried to have a talk with her outside of class, but she laughed and told me to come with her. I don't remember where we went that day, but I remember the look on the teacher's face and my mother's laugh. She used to take me out of class a lot like that when she was between jobs. I grabbed the journal again from the artifacts Aaron brought. A picture stuffed in the book presents itself when I turn the page, not having been pasted, but seemingly stuffed in instead. Whether as a bookmark or hiding place is unclear. Aaron is the center, but not the focus of the photo, asleep next to Seth, who is smiling obnoxiously and holding the camera at arm's length. Seth's smile is wide, an unusual shape, uneven and captivating. Much the same way as eyes directed at a lens will follow the viewer, Seth's smile seems pointed in a single direction at me. Both boys are also apparently naked in the photo, Aaron presumably without his knowledge. The relationship between Aaron Gallagher and Seth McCann is unusual in many ways. The boys share a bed nightly. Far more unusual is the fact that the boys have never, as Aaron puts it, successfully had sex with each other. I do not know why his frankness in that conversation is so unnerving. They are the kind of best friends who do not remember the first time they met. It was so far in their infancy. As a very young child, Aaron spent many afternoons and evenings at Seth's house, his parents working late in direct contrast with the McCanns, Matthew always arriving shortly after the end of school, and Caitlin often home all day anyway. Aaron remembers enjoying most of the times when both Seth's parents were at home and with each other. It was often the only time he had alone with Seth, not under his father's watchful eye or his mother's constant intercession into play. Seth did not come to the Gallagher household except on Aaron's birthday. It wasn't a rule, at least not a written one, but whenever Aaron would invite Seth, there would be an excuse not to come or not to get together at all. Over the years, Aaron never questioned it. In the far bed, Aaron looks precisely the same as the picture, at least until his mouth starts to hang open, and he drools more than a little. I lose the pages the photo was stuck between, and decide if I'm going to remember any of this or function in the morning. Sleep is going to be required. Alright, well, thank you all again for coming. I'm now going to migrate to the room at the far end, where books will be available for purchase. It's also available on Amazon and on Kindle and on audiobook through audible.com. And I think it just went live on iTunes if you prefer to listen to your audiobooks through that. So, thank you all for coming.
And thank you guys too.